say that. I'm not a state rep anymore. I always did try to help out this organization and the other organizations that were in my house district, down in Longcrest, Fox Chase, and on occasion Bustleton, because those groups like this really are very important for the stability of neighborhoods. And frankly, groups like this made my job easier. Actually took some work off my shoulders when I was a state representative for 21 years. But anyway, thank you for the invitation, Al.
Thank you.
I guess it's been a few years since I've been here. Actually, I've been here once or twice as a judge. A couple of times I've been around, I talked about my experiences in the court system. And at times I may have seemed somewhat critical of what I see in the criminal justice system in Philadelphia. One meeting I went to wasn't at this organization. It was at Fox Chase. Actually had some elected officials trying to get me in trouble for saying things which happen to be the truth, for saying things which really have been covered in some very fine articles in Philadelphia Inquirer. Maybe some folks have been reading those articles. Follow up on the articles that were published in December. There were some changes made this week in Philadelphia Municipal Court. That's not where I sit. There's been a blue ribbon panel appointed by the Supreme Court, Pennsylvania Supreme Court that is, instrumental in trying to change a few things in Philadelphia that aren't working the way they should be working in the criminal justice system. Are the Chief Justice, Ron Castillo, who's from Philadelphia, and Justice Seamus McCaffrey, who's also from Philadelphia, and at the risk of being considered trying to kiss up to my bosses, I have a lot of confidence in those two gentlemen, that it's those two who are the catalyst for looking at the system here in Philadelphia and trying to make it work better. And what Al said is true. I know I'm considered to be the toughest judge in the criminal justice center. I think that I'm fair. Now, I think every judge thinks that he's fair, and every judge thinks that he tries to come down. You give what the law is, and when you're deciding the facts, you just have to do your best to try to decide what happened. Most defendants don't like me deciding what the facts are. They'd rather have a jury. I don't get many what we call waiver trials, where defendants will give up their right to a jury. They almost always want a jury in front of me. And that leads me to one of my favorite topics. One of the problems we have in the city is the quality of the jurors we get. And what I see is people who work. Many of those people do their best to get off jury duty. Think about the effect that that has on the system. If people who have jobs are eliminated from jury service, what do you have left? And I have to say, the friends of mine in public office, they do something I never did when I was a state representative, and that's get their constituents off jury duty. And I hope that my friends who do that will reconsider the effects that they're having on the criminal justice system in getting the citizens of Northeast Philadelphia off jury duty. And to compound the problems that we have getting what I think are fair, middle-of-the-road jurors, the legislature, which was in search, presenting a solution in search of a problem, has now excused people who are 65 years old from serving in juries. So what do you have? You get off jury duty while you're working. When do you usually retire? Are people really who are 65 years old too old to serve as jurors? I don't think so. I'm 2 years away from 65, so maybe I'm prejudiced. But we've had judges working until they're 80. And my experience with these judges is they're quite sharp. They're physically fit. So we have a problem in Philadelphia, I think, with getting a fair fair mix of juries. And if you want to complain about crime, and I know a lot of people complain about crime, I knew that when I was a state representative, that when your summons comes for you to serve as a juror, then go. Then do your duty. It's usually just 3 days. It's not normally longer on a criminal trial. It can be. If you really have a problem, you will be excused. And I see people, I excuse people all the time. You can get it easily postponed. But if you really want to do your part, then when it comes time for you to serve, do your best to try to serve. And then that you'll be doing your part to help solve some of our crime problems in Philadelphia. Sometimes it's very distressing to me. I've been a judge for 8 years, and it's pretty obvious. People are answering questions during the voir dire. That's the process of picking the jury, and they just answer every single question wrong. Every single possible question. So I know what their goal is. Their goal is to get off serving on a criminal jury in my courtroom. And I always tell them that they've reached their goal. I say, you're excused. The way you've answered these questions, I don't believe you, but you wouldn't be a good jury. You wouldn't be a good juror in a criminal trial, so you're coming back here Friday when we pick civil juries. And this was a 3-day case, and they last 2, 3, 4 weeks sometimes. So have a good time. Boy, the truth comes out then. Then it's all of a sudden, well, I have to do this. That's why they give me an excuse. And I say, I knew you were lying. If you told me that in the beginning, then maybe I would have let you out. But don't tell me 12 lies in a row, because I can tell you're lying. I think the articles focused lately on municipal court. There's been some gamemanship on the part of some attorneys, and one of the things they changed, or that went into effect on Tuesday, that the municipal court judges at the preliminary hearings will now have to ask the defendant if they're ready first. Then you ask the Commonwealth's DA. Because, and I've seen it, although it doesn't go on in my courtroom, the defense attorney waits until he finds out whether the DA is ready. And when the DA says they're ready, suddenly the defendant has a reason why they're not ready. Well, that's been going on for too long. And Justice McCaffrey used to run municipal court. So he knows better than anybody how much gaming is going on the part of a minority of criminal defense attorneys. So they have rules now. The municipal court judges cannot ask the Commonwealth first. They can't ask the DA, are you ready, and broadcast that to the defendant. Now they ask the defendant. So now the defendant can't fake. He has to say whether he's ready first. Now, something that hasn't gone into effect, but I think it's going to go into effect, is something that I do in my courtroom that Justice McCaffrey, I understand, wants to have done in a municipal courtrooms, and that's doing proceedings in absentia. That's pretty important in a city where 50,000 people haven't shown up for their criminal cases. Think about that. I should say 50,000 cases where they haven't shown up. It's probably only, I'm saying only, probably only like 35,000 people, because some of them have multiple cases where they haven't shown up. In my courtroom, they don't show up. Or I have them, maybe they show up for part of the proceeding, and then they leave. Well, some judges will, oh my goodness, the defendant's not here. Let's mistrial. Not in my courtroom. We keep going. We do the trial, and they're supposed to check to see to make sure the defendant's not dead, or he's not in a hospital, or, well, we do that. I don't waste any of the time with the jurors. We do that at my lunch break, the first break I get. Then we bring the detectives in without the jury listening to find out whether the guy's in the morgue or in the hospital. And of course we know he's not. So and it's a fact.